Buying an anniversary edition of anything usually means you're paying extra for commemorative floor mats in a different color. It's automotive marketing's way of making you feel special about something that's fundamentally unchanged. So here's the question. Is the Mazda MX-5 35th anniversary edition something actually special, or are you buying into the same 35-year-old formula with some fancier paint? What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things. And on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now, the difference between genuine heritage and marketing nostalgia comes down to one thing: continuous improvement. Most brands celebrate anniversaries by looking backward, but I think in this case, what Mazda's doing is celebrating 35 years of the MX-5 by simply making it better every single year. And before we get into what this is like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. This 35th anniversary edition is a 2025 model, so it benefits from all of the ND3 updates we saw last year. And of course, the big one is the asymmetric limited slip diff, but don't forget the retuned power steering, as well as DSC-Track mode. Now, what makes this a 35th anniversary edition is limited numbers: 350 in the US, 230 in Canada, signature artisan red paint, as well as a beige soft top and tan Napa leather interior. Under the hood is the naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder that we know and love. Makes 181 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, 151 pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM. To be fair, 181 horsepower in 2025 is kind of like bringing a knife to a gunfight, except in this fight, your opponents are busy reloading their weapons while you're winning the knife fight because you actually know how to use it. As I mentioned, transmission's 6-speed manual. No automatic is available for the 35th anniversary. There is that asymmetric limited slip diff at the back, retuned electric power steering last year, double wishbones at the front, multi-link at the rear. This is the 35th anniversary, so it's also fitted with Bilstein dampers. And of course, kinematic posture control is standard, and we've discussed that in previous episodes, but it's essentially software-based brake vectoring for body roll reduction. This uses the standard MX-5 brakes with single-piston front calipers, 11-inch rotors, single-piston rear calipers with 11-inch rotors as well. Wheels and tires are 17s. The 35th anniversary gets this exclusive wheel design. Curb weight is 2,374 pounds. Static weight distribution is 53% front, 47% rear, but on this channel we know it's not static weight distribution that counts, it's how you use it. Now, subscribers get notified when new episodes drop on this channel. Non-subscribers hope that the algorithm will show it to them eventually. If you want to control when you see episodes of ours on YouTube, well, that's what the subscribe button does. The best thing about the seating position in an MX-5 is that you're seated very low. You're basically sitting on the floor where you should be in a sports car. And to be fair, this interface is absolutely perfect. There's enough adjustment in the seat as well as the steering wheel, and I've got a great relationship to this wonderful steering wheel as well as the pedals. And as we know, they're set up perfectly for heel and toe. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we've got a great episode on how to heel and toe, probably the best one on YouTube. So links here and in the description. Plus, visibility is absolutely superb. Of course, you can see in 360 degrees, but more importantly, you can see perfectly out the front windscreen. Sight lines are absolutely perfect for track work. If you need to be precise about hitting your markers, hitting your turn-in points, your apexes, your exit points, well, this is brilliant. And on top of that, you can see the tops of the fenders, so you know exactly where you're placing this MX-5 on track. And don't forget, the steering wheel has a bit of adjustment in it, so just about anyone between 5'4" and 6'4" can find the perfect seating position. And then once you do, everything is exactly where it should be. For example, the shifter's in a great location, and this is one of the finest shifters in the automotive business. Mazda spent 35 years refining ergonomics that most manufacturers ignore because they're obsessed with screens and features. And this, my friends, is what driver-focused actually means. Best part of this 35th anniversary edition is that these Napa leather seats are heated because I think Mazda understands that some of their crazy owners will do what I'm doing here and drive with the top down in cooler temperatures in the month of November. And fun fact, this top can be opened or closed right here from the driver's seat in the matter of a couple of seconds. There are some manufacturers out there who expect you to press a couple of buttons and flip maybe a couple of levers, and then you have to wait. This one does it instantly, and you do it right here from the driver's seat. And fun fact, this Napa leather interior will age beautifully and earn this lovely patina over time if you take care of it. But if you don't, it may take several years and this may end up looking a bit like a crime scene. And for driving and car enthusiasts like us, there is no in-between. Choose your level of commitment accordingly. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto mean there are no cables cluttering your cockpit. The Bose sound system has speakers in the headrests of both the driver and passenger seats, so you can actually hear music with the top down. Mazda's navigation is standard here, but trust me, you'll use Waze or Google Maps on Apple CarPlay. And for drivers like us, one of the important bits is that there's no digital gauge cluster trying to be a video game. And I like to think that Mazda has added only the technology that enhances the driving experience and deleted everything else. The like button tells YouTube to share this episode with more people like you, and if this episode has given you more information than you could read in a press release, well, that's the entire ask. In terms of acceleration, we've done this before. On a good day in perfect conditions, this will do 0 to 60 somewhere between 5.5 and 6 seconds, and that's okay. Top speed is somewhere around 135 or 140 miles an hour, and that's more than fast enough. But let's talk numbers. 181 horsepower and 2,374 pounds of curb weight. That's the same power to weight ratio of a 400 horsepower Mustang that weighs 3,800 pounds. But here's what the numbers don't tell you. The MX-5 makes peak torque at 4,000 RPM, then it makes peak power at 7,000 RPM, which means you have a 3,000 RPM power band where the engine is always pulling hard. Most turbocharged motors make peak torque at 2,000 RPM and run at a breath at 6,000. The MX-5 rewards revs. It encourages you to chase the red line because that's where the fun lives. And with the MX-5, Mazda's built an engine and this car around the entire idea of engagement instead of just optimizing it for 0 to 60 times. One of the reasons this shifter is so good is that you barely have to move your wrist, if at all, to complete a shift. Barely any wrist movement there. Gotta love it. Those throws are so short. This is perfection. First to second, fourth to third, the shifter just falls into the next gate with no resistance and perfect mechanical feedback. The clutch is light enough for traffic, but that bite point is clear enough you always know where you are in clutch pedal travel. And because it's so clear, you can modulate it perfectly for smooth starts anytime. And the best part of this whole situation is that there is no rev matching function. Rev matching is done by your right foot, and again, these pedals are spaced perfectly for heel and toe. Plus, when you're braking and rotating your foot to blip the throttle, well, that throttle is responsive enough to get the revs where you need it to complete that downshift smoothly. And this is exactly what people mean when they say they're connected to the car, and Mazda even has a term for that, Jinba Itai. That asymmetric limited slip diff sounds like a whole bunch of marketing copy until you actually start working with it and paying attention to how it all enhances the driving experience. Under deceleration approaching a corner, it locks a little more to stabilize the rear and prevent weight transfer from unsettling the chassis. Under acceleration exiting a corner, it ramps lock aggressively so you can modulate power without the rear getting too excited. The ND1 and the ND2 had limited slip diffs, but they were a little bit more compromised. This is the kind of differential that wants to work with you. Corner entry stable and confidence inspiring. Corner exit is controllable and predictable. And then it works seamlessly with kinematic posture control, which is just doing its thing behind the scenes. And on top of that, you've got DSC-Track mode now. If you do track days, you can use that DSC-Track mode as a bit of a feedback loop so that you understand what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and this car will be happy to tell you. If you want to support the channel beyond just watching, well, the merch store is open, and what that means is we have more time for fun episodes like this and less time worrying about manufacturer blacklists. Small ask, no pressure. When it comes to the overall dynamics of the MX-5, the kinematic posture control that's always there working in the background subtly is really one of the unsung heroes here. Here's what's happening. Think about entering a corner at higher speeds, and that, of course, generates some body roll, which transfers weight to the outside wheel. Kinematic posture control applies slight brake pressure to the inside rear wheel, which pulls that corner down, reducing body roll without adding stiffer springs or heavier anti-roll bars. The result is a car that feels stable and composed in the corners without feeling stiff or over-damped on rough roads. It's software doing what hardware used to do, except software doesn't add any weight. Combined with the Bilstein dampers and the limited slip, the ND3 feels more cohesive than any previous MX-5. And this is what 35 years of handling refinement looks like. The electrically assisted power steering is tuned to provide incredible feedback and natural weight, unlike any other electrically assisted system I've experienced. Mazda retuned the steering for the ND3 to add more on-center feel and improve feedback. You can actually feel the front tires loading up through corners, feel the transition from neutral to oversteer, feel when you're approaching the limit. It's not hydraulically assisted steering, that's gone forever. It's probably the best electrically assisted steering system in a modern sports car because Mazda cares about enhancing the driving experience of the MX-5. Let's talk about the brakes for a second. 11-inch rotors are about 280 millimeters, single piston calipers all around. The 35th anniversary edition doesn't get the 4-piston Brembos, but it's not that they're necessary. And that's because you only have 2,374 pounds to stop. Brake feels progressive and wonderfully communicative, not quite as good as the Brembos, but you can modulate pressure precisely to adjust the attitude of the MX-5 with the brake pedal anytime you like, to make this car an incredible dance partner just on the brake pedal alone. And don't forget, this isn't brake-by-wire, it's a direct hydraulic connection between your foot and the calipers. Now, I would argue you really don't need the Brembos, especially if this is going to be a road car, not a track car. If it's a track car, well, you may want to find an MX-5 with those Brembos. But here, the brakes have more than enough stopping power. It's a satisfying pedal, and I can control the attitude of this MX-5 just on the brake pedal alone. It's absolutely perfect. Now, this suspension with the Bilsteins is a wonderful blend of ride and handling. It does a wonderful job in every driving situation. On rough roads, it absorbs those impacts. And then when I want to lean on this suspension in the corners, well, body and wheel control is top notch. And in general, most sports cars compromise ride quality for handling, but in the case of the MX-5, it actually has both. The balance of this chassis is so wonderful. It'll happily trail brake into a corner. Then as you transition back onto the throttle, it'll happily power oversteer on the way out of the corner. In the traditional sense, it doesn't understeer, doesn't oversteer. It does exactly what you tell it to do. And this entire package is so delightful. You can drive this around at 8/10 all day, feel like you're going fast and attacking the roads, enjoying yourself, but you won't be breaking any traffic laws. Most sports cars make you choose between boring or illegal, and the MX-5 has found that perfect middle ground. How do you spec yours? Well, it only comes one way, so this is a very easy question to answer. What you are looking at is the 2025 Mazda MX-5 35th Anniversary Edition, finished in artisan red paint, and this is some special stuff with the tan Napa leather interior. In the US, this costs $36,250. In Canada, it's $44,050. In the US, think of this as a Grand Touring specification. In Canada, mechanically, this is like the GT. Plus exclusivity. You're getting the Bilstein dampers, Asymmetric limited slip diff, shock tower brace heated seats, Bose audio, wireless CarPlay, and navigation. Plus, I've heard this artisan red paint costs about $3,000 to apply. The tan Napa leather interior is about a $1,500 upgrade on other models, and the exclusivity of 350 cars in the US or 230 in Canada adds some intangible value. You're paying about $6,000 over base for about $7,000 in equipment, plus genuine scarcity. And as you can see, the math actually works, which is rare for any kind of special edition. And fun fact, the original 1989 Miata had a base price of about $14,000 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $35,000 today, which is almost exactly what the 35th Anniversary Edition costs. And what's remarkable is Mazda was able to keep pace with inflation without bloating the formula. Now, before you throw down your hard-earned money, let's have a look at what actual ND3 owners have to say about their MX-5 ownership experiences. First, that 7,500 RPM redline Mazda advertises, well, it's not entirely true. Fuel cut happens at 7,200 RPM in third gear and above, but displays 7,500. This is intentional by Mazda to prevent sustained high RPM operation. They're actually thinking of you, the owners. Second, and this is the big one, rear wheel bearings seem to have a shorter lifespan than originally thought. You'll know it when it happens, clunking over bumps, harsh ride quality. Thankfully, there are plenty of OEM and aftermarket solutions, and most people don't discover this until it's too late. If you're buying used, definitely budget for it. Third, if you get the soft top, learn about drain maintenance immediately. There are drain tubes behind the seats that channel water out. They clog with leaves and debris, and when they do, you'll have a swimming pool in your footwells. Owners use a brush every 10,000 miles. It's not in the manual, it's actually forum knowledge. And here's a surprising positive. A lot of owners swap their exhaust early on into the ownership experience, not because it's bad, but because the car deserves more voice than Mazda gives it. Think of the quiet stock exhaust as Mazda's invitation for you to personalize your soundtrack. And the owners who call themselves driving enthusiasts say that the single best modification isn't a modification at all. It's a proper performance alignment and tires. Owners describe it as unlocking a car that's already excellent. That's the transformation most reviewers, including me, actually miss because we never keep the car long enough. The ND3 is genuinely sorted, and long-term ownership has a little bit of a learning curve, but thankfully the community has been there, done that, and has all the wisdom to save you headaches down the road. My verdict, well, let's start with fuel consumption because it's always amusing with an MX-5. It's rated for 26 miles per gallon city, 34 highway. In this test, I'm getting 27 miles per gallon, or about 8.8 liters per 100 kilometers for my Canadian friends. And I've done better, I've done worse, but it just proves one thing, that you can have a fun sports car that is efficient. And think about this. You can drive a sports car with a 7,500 RPM redline and not bankrupt yourself on fuel. This is possible because in the world of Mazda MX-5s, weight and displacement matter more than outright horsepower. I spent all week trying to come up with some things I don't like about this 35th Anniversary Edition, and the best I can come up with is the beige soft top will get dirty. That's not automotive criticism, that's just acknowledging that beige fabric exists in the real world, which basically makes me a laundry consultant now. So is this 35th Anniversary Edition a genuine celebration or just expensive nostalgia? And here's the thing, since 2016, Mazda has made hundreds of individual changes to the ND generation through continuous Kaizen, everything from kinematic posture control to the asymmetric limited slip diff to the retuned steering to outright chassis improvements. This isn't just the same old MX-5, it's demonstrably the best MX-5 ever made. And sure, the heritage trap is real. Most anniversary editions are inherently cynical. This one isn't milking nostalgia. This is what happens when you spend 35 years making the same car better instead of just different. And year after year, you're making a car that's worth celebrating. Should you buy one of these? Well, if you're looking for a bit of exclusivity that's backed by substance, well, absolutely. Buy it if you appreciate continuous refinement over revolutionary design, and buy it if you understand 181 horsepower is the right amount for a package that weighs 2,374 pounds. Don't buy it if you need practicality, cargo space, all-weather capability, or validation from people who measure cars by 0 to 60 times. The MX-5 isn't trying to be everything to everyone. It's trying to be the perfect expression of lightweight, driver-focused sports car design. And after 35 years and over 1 million cars sold, I think Mazda has figured it out. That's the 2025 Mazda MX-5 35th Anniversary Edition. Subscribe if you want to see more episodes like this. Don't if you don't. Comments are open if you agree or disagree. Tell me what I got right, what I got wrong. And if you want to support the channel, well, hit up the merch store and get some Save the Manuals merch. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.